Hi and welcome back to the channel. Hey!
Hi, welcome back to the channel. Right, that's enough of Carl. Hi, my name's Amelia and let's get some work done on the VR4.
Okay, so I haven't entirely been shoved out of the picture altogether. However, Meebs is going to star more in this YouTube video than me. Meebs, what have we been doing on the VR4 before we get on to where we're going to go from here?
Well, first things first, we took out the clutch line because that was going all over the place. We replaced it with a nice braided line. We've also taken out the old disgusting intercooler pipes, got some new aluminium ones.
We are going to basically make this out of these airflow parts, which is, we sat down yesterday and worked out roughly what bits we needed. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut these down to the correct lengths to match this here, and we will reuse that hose. We're going to dig that that extra piece of pipe in there, which is pretty awesome. We're going to take that out, and that piece of hose will then connect it to the throttle body where it goes into the manifold. So what we're going to make up now is we need to machine up a little stub with a thread in it there. We'll drill a hole in the side of this pipe here, and then that little stub that we make out of aluminium will end up being welded in there. Okay, so and then these will be set up and we'll get this welded up, joined together. And then to get down to this size, because this end here at the throttle body is 69 or say 70 millimeters. In the old, in imperial language, it's 2 3/4 inches. However, at the intercooler end, where it comes up underneath from the front mount, it's only 2 inch. So we need to then change from that size to that size, and we're doing it with one of these U-boot airflow. So that will end up on this end here, which will drop it down. So what we've got to do is we've got to counteract, we've got to make sure to get this length right, we've got to factor in this fitting in here and all the other bits and pieces of pipe. So we will work out, we'll put all this together under the engine bay, work out where it's got to go first, and then we will mark a hole in there and we'll cut a new plate for this, which will then end up being welded on here so the blow-off valve goes back in.
So this is where our nice new aluminium intercooler pipes are going to go. We're also making a new intake pipe, just here, and it'll come up to here, and here is our nice new braided clutch line. Got these welded up. Got our hose connectors welded on. Nice weld here, 45-degree angle, the blow-off valve, and the air temp sensor. Let's go put it in the car. So we'll give it a bit of a spray of CRC, make it a bit easier. Chuck it in and then we'll tighten up the hose clamp. Now we're going to put the air temp sensor in. Just tight. Plug it in. There we go. Now we're putting on the blow-off valve, and we've got some sealant on so it doesn't leak. Put it facing down so it doesn't fill up with dust.
And with another few minutes of Meebs plumbing in some vacuum hoses and other bits and pieces, it was just about done. The last tasks were to make up a bracket and then mount the air filter. We used a K&N filter and a wrap over the top that helps to keep the dust and the water out. Okay, so we can finally close the bonnet on the engine bay. Pardon the pun. So let's get back inside the car. Now we've got all the sensors and everything wired and the ECU sorted out, we really need a way of displaying all this. Now, the VR4 came with a set of analog gauges that have been fitted in the original dash binnacle, and they look pretty cool, and they're old school. It's been done at some time in the past, who knows why. However, we're a bit suspicious about whether some of the readings were correct on those and some of the gauges didn't work. So our next best option was to fit a new dash. Now, we couldn't source a VR4 dash for it, so instead we've gone down the digital dash route. When it comes to these things, there's quite a lot of options available for them, and there's like the mainstream one, say Link, which is made by AIM, or the Haltech Dash, which are great units. However, we decided to go with an Australian-made one called PowerTune. I think these dashes deserve their own review video, so we'll do one in the future. However, let's just get on with the install for the time being. The first stage of that was to get the analog gauges out and see what we were left with.
So yesterday, made a plate up for the existing dash, aluminium, to fit the new digital dash into, and gave that a coat of paint just to smarten it up a bit, because the plastic surround wasn't in the best condition when we removed the old gauges. Also had to do a tiny bit of plastic welding there just to fix it up. Broken. It's not been trimmed up the best there. Anyway, the new bracket should make that easier. So these PowerTune dashes, they come with a M2, I think it is, threads on it. So had to cut down a couple of very small screws to use to fix this on. They didn't come with any screws in the box, which I would have thought they would have. Anyway, it's not the end of the world. It just need to. Luckily, I had some small screws there that will do the trick, and we'll fix this all up. Hopefully, the sound is coming through okay, because the weather outside today is terrible, and it is pouring down with rain out there. Okay, so to basically explain how this works, effectively this PowerTune dash only really needs 4 wires to get it going. So in terms of things, it's a very simple setup. The PowerTune dash can read pretty much everything that the ECU is seeing from the sensors. So if it's wired into the ECU, it can be displayed on the dash, which is excellent. So it gives us a huge range of options, and these PowerTune dashes can talk to pretty much all the aftermarket ECUs that are out there. And the way it works is, with the 4 wires, the red and black is power and earth, and the blue and white wires are CAN signal, CAN bus. The Link ECUs, all of them have a CAN output on them, and it is in the wiring loom from the ECU. We've already run the wires up to where the dash is going to be. So effectively, the CAN signals come via these 2 wires into the dash. That's it. And then these dashes are fully customizable, which we will do a bit later on. And we can set it up to display anything and everything that we need in there, and do a few other cool things with it. Now that's fantastic if you are going to use this dash to complement your existing analog dash or gauges in there. However, as the VR4 didn't have any of the other bits and pieces that we need in there, we need to put them in as well, and that's where this device in here comes in. So this device is a CAN extender. Now the whole deal with this gadget is it picks up all of the analog and digital signals that are not fed into the ECU. So things like fuel level from the fuel sender, indicators for the indicator warning lights on the dash, also high beam light, and it can pick up a whole bunch of other signals. So effectively, you could even pick up all the sensors on the engine, like oil pressure, fuel pressure, oil temperature, things like that, and instead of them being fed into the ECU, you can feed them into this box, which is via this larger loom on this side, and it's got quite a few inputs there. And then The output side of it, again, power and earth, and the blue and white are the CAN signals. They are paralleled up with the ones to the dash, and then that data is also fed into the dash, and away you go. It's that easy. So if you have a basic ECU, or you don't want to program everything into your ECU or feed all the data into your ECU from senders, you can, this really gives you a few more channels to plug it in. It's now time to go and test all the wiring on the car, because the existing wiring, we need to know what comes from where. Make a note of that, and then start splicing this all in.
With everything correctly wired and tested, it was time to power up the dash, and that's when we ran into a drama. No data from the ECU was being displayed. A few calls to power tune, and it appears that we have a faulty dash unit. Bugger. The guys were good enough to dispatch us a new dash immediately, so we've got to wait for that to turn up. So in the meantime, we got on with getting a few other little bits and pieces done, like getting the intercom in. However, it does mean the end of this video. So stand by for part 2 of our dash install. Thanks very much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed this update on the VR4. Please tap the like button because it feeds the all-important algorithm, and subscribe, and we'll catch you again soon. Cheers.